Welcome to Let's Face the Facts. I'm David Almeida, and I'm your host for this rewatch podcast for the classic sitcom The Facts of Life. I'm an actor in Orlando, Florida, and every week I bring you some of the greatest talent in the Central Florida arts community. Join us as we synopsize, analyze, criticize, and ultimately idolize the show, episode by episode. Hey guys, welcome back. It's another week, another Wednesday, so another show. It's Christmas week. Yay! I'm trying to get caught up. I recorded multiple shows ahead of time and then promptly did not get busy actually editing them, so I seem to always be running a little bit behind. I'm recording and editing this on Monday, and you're listening to it on Wednesday. I am determined not to let that happen over the next 2 weeks. We'll see how I do with that. My guest this week is Justin Schneyer. Justin's been on the show before. He's an actor, singer, improviser. He does behind-the-scenes work. He does company management, tech work, and he's also an amazing cook and a super awesome baker. He was supposed to go off on a cruise ship gig as an activities director, but COVID-19 had different plans for him. We'll talk about it on the show. We watched season 6, episode 6, Taking a Chance on Love, part 1, and the original air date was November 7th of 1984. So this is the first of a two-parter episode. Multiple times in this show, I will say that the show ran originally on network television on 2 weeks as a two-part episode. That is wrong. It originally ran as an hour long. I am Wrongy McWrongerton, and the confidence with which I declare this wrong information is shockingly disturbing. But there it is. I got nothing else to say. I got to get these done. Come on, guys. I'm busy. What do you want from me? Let's jump on in. Let's face the facts with Justin Schneyer. Well, Justin Schneyer.
Hello.
Welcome to your home.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Yes, it's interesting as I was listening back to the previous podcast that you were just a guest here. You were setting out for pastures anew on an ocean liner and a new job, a new career.
Oh yeah.
A new life. And now here we are. You're still in town and you live here.
Yes, what was supposed to be a 3-day stay turned into a week stay, which turned into a month stay, which turned into, 7 months? It
was 7 or 8.
7 or 8 months. And
before we said, could we just make this official?
Yeah, so I live here now.
Well, since I have the convenience of you living with me, and I did make it a contractual stipulation in your lease. Stiplification, that you are required to do podcasting as part of your residency here.
Yep.
In a completely non-binding, non-compulsory way, I have forced you just now to watch Season 6, Episode 6, Taking a Chance on Love. The original air date was November 7th, 1984. And let's just get right to the business. Written by Gail Honigberg. I meant to look her up and see what her writing credits are. You know what? I'm going to actually do that next week because this is a 2-part episode and we're only doing part 1 today. So we'll talk about Gail Honigberg next week because I'll take the time to research her. And it was directed by the wonderful Asad Kelada.
Asad Kelada.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, you have been on the show before. This is your 3rd time.
Yes. Anytime that I am on the show, I want to unveil the curtain a little bit. If I'm on the show, no one else is available. Everyone is either sick or sick of David, and this is a filler.
Yeah, more likely the latter.
Guest.
More likely the latter there. But yeah, it's the wonderful convenience of having you now more than ever at arm's length.
Oh, yeah.
Where I can just grab you and say, we need to do some shows, and it has been a while.
This is the equivalent of Johnny interviewing Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
Or Andy being interviewed by Conan O'Brien at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those like when...
Well, you're here.
Yeah. Well, okay, the TV guide says Orson Welles was going to be on, but we tune in and we see that we have Charles Nelson Riley or...
Oh, boy.
Whoa. But anyway, this episode, this is part 1 of 2. And we will be here, you will be here next week to do part 2 with us. And as a little extra twist, because this was an episode broadcast originally over 2 weeks, it was never done as a 1-hour special.
Right.
I have only allowed Justin to watch the first half of the show. So he does not know how this is going to end.
I have no idea that there's going to be a tragic car wreck. And that we're going to lose a cast member for the rest of the show run. I don't know that yet. I don't know.
Wow. But all I'm just saying is that Justin's eyes are darting back and forth manically due to the anxiety of him not knowing how this is going to happen. He's got a little tick in one of his blinking eyes. And
with my dry eyes, you can almost hear it.
Oh my God, I can. Well, the title of this show comes from Taking a Chance on Love. And you were being a wise ass earlier. What was it you asked me?
I assume you mean that I was referring to that must be a song of some sort from
Yes.
Oh, that's right. And considering the demographic of the people who watch this show, I assumed maybe it was from some hot band called like the Glenn Miller. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And the funny thing is, you thought you were being cunty by asking, is it like a really old song that these, aged vaudevillian writers might have been referring to? And so I in fact, was able to unironically go back to you and say, yeah, the song, it is a song, and it's from a musical that was on Broadway in 1940 called Cabin in the Sky. The song was made famous by... You know her and you love her, Justin. Ethel Waters. Ethel Waters is, in fact, a landmark African-American showbiz personality because she was one of the first, right up there with, your Lena Hornes. And
I actually do know who Lena Horne is.
And Dorothy Dandridge. She was one of the first to be a woman of color featured in a film, though certainly not.
But not in a colored film. A non-colored film?
It was
a black and white film?
A color film. I don't think films don't like to be called colored. That's an archaic term.
I'm sorry, David. You're right. Typically, when I watch films, I don't see color.
Because he's a dog. So, anyhow, the title is a song, and I will post a link to a lovely version that Ella Fitzgerald sings.
Ooh.
And, we don't need to talk about your relationship with the show. We've already discussed that. By the way, I have to say, it is so fucking weird to be sitting and talking face-to-face with someone as a guest on the podcast. I haven't done it in so long.
This odd veneer of performance between us.
I know.
It's so weird.
That is true, because since we've been working together, we have so much more, there's less pageantry about the times we hang out and all that.
We were literally doing laundry right before this recording.
Yeah. 2 hot, young, single gay guys. Okay, 1 hot, young, single gay guy and his elderly companion.
I lost my twink status years ago. That doesn't really apply anymore.
Had to turn in your twink card?
I did have to turn in my twink card. I put it in the vending machine, and they gave me a shit ton of Kit Kats, and now I'm a little chubbier and a little less Twinkie, but I love my Twinkies.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, first things first, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you and put you on the spot to please give us the 1 to 2 sentence TV guide synopsis of the show. Remember, if it is more than 20 words, Matthew Arter will be furious with you. Go!
Joe makes a new friend who turns into a little bit more, and a dilemma ensues. That's a horrible synopsis.
That's not horrible. That's extremely accurate.
Yeah,
that's fine.
There's no stank on it though. I wish I had gotten some stank. I didn't think about it. I didn't really. That was
no. That's
so
good.
clinical.
That's the best time. That's the best improv when you don't have time to think about
God.
it. Let's begin then.
Okay.
The microscopic dissection of taking a chance on love, and when it comes to love, I think we're well versed because we are the authorities on
romance and relationships
and love and finding. My God, our experience combined could fill a index card. One side?
Come, no one listens to this. No one gives a damn. No one who in my circle. I would say come this coming summer, it will have been literally 1 decade since I have had a boyfriend. 1 decade. I am ready to discuss.
Wow. I mean, there was one that was not official. There was that.
Yeah, I
But
I can't.
It's not like you haven't touched a man in a decade.
Oh no, I've touched probably a decade's worth of men in the past year.
But not during COVID.
No,
I hope.
No.
Wait a minute.
No.
But the deal is, I haven't had a boyfriend since. Well, the trouble is, what's the word?
What is your definition?
I date passionately, Justin.
I
So-
sadly know what you mean.
I date passionately, so my short dating stints, typically we get to calling each other boyfriends too quickly, and then it's
Right.
over too quickly. So, I mean, technically, I had a 2-year relationship that ended in 2012. That's 8 years ago.
Right.
But I've had 2 other guys that we called each other boyfriends, but the relationships were both like, they were months, but not a year. So,
Our ovaries are dry, and we are ready to talk about love.
I have rehymenated, ladies and gentlemen.
God.
So we are going to begin the episode in a coffee shop that we have never seen before. This is a new location. I'm not sure if we ever go back there again.
I totally knew that.
But the thing is, in this coffee shop, we have Jo, 3 of her peers, 3 other students, and a professor having one of those weird, what TV writers imagine professors hanging out with their students
Yeah.
time that I'm not sure is realistic.
When I was in college, maybe 1 out of every 20 professors I'd have would do something like that, but it is unusual.
Yeah, I didn't. None
A
of my
group that small? No.
none of my professors was let's go and hang out and have coffee. Let's do it. Now, I did have some teaching assistants. I had one, God bless him. He was like, if you need to know if your grades are posted, just give me a call. My phone number's on the syllabus there. And if you're not sure what the schedule is or what the lecture's about, just give me a call and I can tell you. And if the pages ever change, we'll alert you. But if you're not sure, you can give me a call and let me. And I was like, you're so lonely.
Sad. So sad.
Bless your heart. I see myself in you. But the deal is, nonetheless, TV writers who likely did not go to college are going to be, at this point, spoon-feeding us 2 half-hour sitcoms worth of, this is what happens in college, right?
No, yeah. Totally.
Totes, yeah. All right. Well, among the peers of Jo's, there are 3 others. I don't even remember who one of them is.
I remember her name was Penny, and she was a whore.
Oh, she was.
She gave the most whorish eyes to the professor. She really did.
She was very flirtatious. She was.
She was drooling.
Yeah.
Out of both orifices. Drooling.
Well, both. You could say she was drooling out of 2 orifices, and I'm not going to tell you which 2.
All right, that's fine. I defer to you.
I'm just saying.
I defer.
That gives a little air of mystery to the vag talk. So the one of the people at the table, though, is a guy we've seen before.
Really?
And literally, Guy. His name is Guy.
Oh, okay.
And I think
We've seen before his last name. Guy, we've seen before?
Guy, we've seen before is his last name. Yeah.
All right.
In fact, it's Guy Reynolds. And the actor is David Tiefin. We have discussed him before. He was in the earliest episode when they first went away to college. He's the blonde guy in the towel when Tootie and Natalie come visit, and there's that culture shock of, whoa, college boys walk around in towels. And, Natalie was, she wet him. She just damp, moisture, you could see it.
But now in this episode, no towel.
No towel.
What a waste.
And we don't mean that he's wearing nothing.
Yeah, no, he's not naked at the table, which would have made this a much better episode.
Agreed. Anyhow, he is there. He's just there kind of as ornamental, like it's just another student to say something else that gives us the impression that we are talking about photography. This is a photography professor, and he's a photography teacher.
Yeah.
And he's talking to these students, and then they're all like, oh, we've got to go off to our class in colleging. So bye, and the three leave, and then it's just him and Joe. Just Sam is his name. Sam Hall.
Yes, who is a perfect fusion of Michael J. Fox and Martin Short.
Fascinating.
Face, tone of voice. When you listen to his voice in the second episode, I want you to think about Martin Short. And I really, really want you to think. It is powerful, the similarities.
So I'm going to hear, and I was just thinking that you would help me raise my son.
I'm not very serious. It's the tone, it's natural tone. If you hear Martin Short in an interview and you listen to this Sam guy, you're going to hear it. It's there. I don't know if he's Canadian, if maybe there's an inflection, but I was really shocked by it. Seemed like those two actors morphed together to make this Sam character.
Fascinating.
I really mean it. You gotta check it out.
This is an interesting study in how everything is so completely subjective.
Yeah.
Because I never, ever would have attributed them to him. Because, well, first of all, Michael J. Fox particularly, in my mind, Michael J. Fox will always be Marty McFly, even though he's 30 by the time we're at the end of the last movie. He'll always be a teen or early 20s young person. So, and by the way, Nancy McKeon did date Michael J. Fox briefly.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Did she give it to him?
Did she get Parkinson's?
Yeah.
I don't think you can give that to a
Well,
person.
not now, not these days, but in the 80s. I don't know.
But interesting that my spin on this actor, and his name is Christopher Tabori.
Okay.
And make it very clear. It's Christopher with a K and 2 F's. Not that PH bullshit.
He's not American then. He's got to be Canadian.
He's not Canadian.
What is he?
He is, I think he was born here. I think he's technically an American. But he is the son of...
Culturally, what is...
he is the son of Swedish actress Vivica Lindfors.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Swedish actress Vivica Lindfors was brought to Hollywood and started making movies in 1940. The hope was to make her another Greta Garbo or Ingrid Bergman as the sort of sexy foreigner lady girl. And her career, she never achieved big fame. I've never heard of her before, but her list of credits is 150 movies and TV appearances. I think she even won an Emmy or something. But she had her career went from 1940 all the way to her death in 95. So she had a 55-year career, and 150 credits is no fucking slouch.
So that's a career. That's a real actor.
True. And so that's his mom. His dad was an American director named Don Siegel. And Don Siegel directed the original 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And later, in the early 70s, he directed Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood movie, and Escape from Alcatraz.
Okay.
And one of his last directing credits, Jinxed. Wah, wah. The Bette Midler flop that she did The Rose. And it was like, Bette Midler's a star, Oscar nomination. Bette Midler, this stage actress and singer, she's the next Barbra Streisand. She's a movie star. Jinxed.
Keeping her humble.
Yeah.
A lesson that she has still learned even today.
Oh, she knows, yeah. Thankfully, Down and Out in Beverly Hills was the thing that started the ascent in the later 80s.
Nice.
And brought her back into, she did eventually get there as being the top box office draw. But Don Siegel directed Jinx. And honestly, the problem with Jinx was not how it was directed. It was just awful in the writing. It was a terrible movie. I'll have to show it to you sometime.
Okay.
But it does not end there. Mr. Christopher Tabori. Parents divorced when he was barely a year old. And his mother went on to marry Hungarian writer-director George Tabori. So his mother was Swedish from Sweden. His dad was Hungarian from Hungary. So suffice it to say, he did not grow up just speaking English.
Yeah, culturally, he's a little more colorful than...
More European. And I think you can hear it. You can hear just the slightest touch of something European.
Well, and that's why I thought Canadian. There is something about his voice that it's you have to listen for it, but there is a touch of something more interesting. There's just a touch of color. One does want a hint of color.
But yes, I agree, to the point where before I looked him up, I was like, there's something else here.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, so your spin on it is you think he looks like Michael J. Fox and Martin Short.
I think that the Martin Short is especially in the voice. Wow. There was a youthful energy of the Michael J. Fox combined with that Martin Shortiness. Like I want you to watch it again in this next episode and really verify.
Well, my thoughts on him I was like, who does he remind me of? And I think the one that comes to mind mostly is Kenneth Branagh.
I suppose.
Kenneth Branagh, as far as visually, he looks like he could be related to him.
Okay.
And there is an air about him because of that slight
regal Europeanness.
The fact that he gives off that vibe that he might be from Europea.
Yeah.
That is
Yerp.
a Shakespeare.
YURP. Yerp.
Yerp. But he does give off a little bit of a Shakespearean actor vibe, and
he was a very good actor.
He was, and that's because he is a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah.
And because of that, vocally, what I was thinking he sounded to me like was a much more toned down, conversational John Hurt.
Oh, maybe.
You imagine when he puts on his stage voice and projects that he has a beautiful John Hurt level of Shakespearean projection. Is this a dagger I see before me? The handle toward my hand. And scene.
This this kind of brings up a point that I wanted to say. I haven't seen episodes of this show since the lesbian episode where her lesbian mentor dies.
Oh my God!
So
holy shit!
So it's been a hot minute since I've seen this show, and I have to say, acting, production, everything has gone up significantly, including the casting of this actor. Like I thought, oh wow, this is a good show.
Well, what I'm wholly shitting about is because I wasn't even making the connection. Your episode was the one where Joe was engaged in a friendship with one of her teachers. You and I were more surprised that nobody was raising an eyebrow over why is an adult female going to the opera and to museums with at that time, what was she, 18, 16?
Yeah, she was pretty young.
Yeah.
But so I am uncertain because so much time has passed. Did she pray away the gay, or did they take her to a camp? Like, why is this is a different Joe?
There has been so much gay since then, Justin.
Really?
This is a good kind of.
Did she get it all out? Like she has too much of it, and now she's moving on.
I think that at one point somebody said we need to get her sucking face with a dude and fast, or they're going to catch on to all of this shit that we're subliminally and not too subliminally putting in the episodes. Last week with Matthew watching the cruising episode, there's a lot of lesbiterian stuff. Oh, God. And after you and I do this two-parter, the next episode, which is Mrs. Garrett Goes Back to School, her outfits are lesbo-tastic. I mean, this is really weird to be seeing her so hetero, because since the ponytail came out 5 episodes ago, it's like they've been like, okay, well, if the ponytail isn't there to telegraph the gay, we got to start doing some other shit.
Have you ever seen in the distance a very attractive guy and you're like, oh wow, they're stunning, that's a beautiful man, and then you walk up a little bit closer and you realize, oh God, that is a butch lesbian. Have you ever I think every gay man has had that moment.
I think we have too.
And I will say, looking at Jo in this episode, I'm not attracted to her, but I see a handsome man in that face.
Yeah.
And that's not meant to be an insult. She has some features and the way that she dresses where I can see it from a distance. I would go, oh, I need to check that out. And
wait till the mullet comes. This isn't her mulletiest hair where that shit is going to be. They're steering hard into that skid. Believe me, right. They're doing that later with the hair. So he is, we agree, wonderful in this role.
Yeah, he's very good.
I think it's pretty well written. And after I watched this before I showed it to you when I've seen parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was like, did this really need to be a 2-parter? Did it really need to be a 2? And watching now again, I'm like, I like him enough that I like that we've given him and Joe some room to breathe.
Yeah, his inevitable death in a fiery car crash.
What? No.
I'm excited to see. I'm assuming.
The orphanage burns down when he's trying to rescue his son. Oh, never mind.
By driving his car into the orphanage to get the son, and then it collapses onto him, and
yeah. It's an oil truck.
he
sadly.
screams out "Khan," and then he dies.
That's well,
That's my assumption for what this next episode is going to be.
Next week is done. That's the podcast is recorded and done, really. So I did like that we had this time with him. I liked him. I'm not sure I ended this going, oh, I wish they had kept him on board as a love interest for Joe. They could have. No. And if it had been a single part, 1-part episode, the whole issue of aren't they moving very quickly into things would have been 10 times worse to the point it would be preposterous and I would be ranting and angry.
Yeah.
Really. So this worked for me that this was a 2-parter. And I do like him. His presence there was good. Mm-hmm. Other thing about him, his hair is darker than his eyebrows.
Didn't notice.
That always makes a person look a touch feminine.
Maybe.
Maybe because we're homos, we see that and we're like, oh, he does drag. Like
possibly.
a man with tweezed lighter brows often means, oh, he does drag or has done drag or whatever. But anyhow, no, I don't get a vibe off of him that he's playing straight. I think he is straight. He seems to be.
He's either that or European.
Gay or European. But here's the deal. He and Joe get into a conversation, and then cut from the syndicated version is an entire scene where we dissolve to later on. The coffee shop was busy and hustling and bustling with a lot of people and extras and noise. And then we go to this next scene where it is empty and they're just there, the two of them alone while they're cleaning up.
I'm sorry, that scene was cut from syndication? The empty scene?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That really is shocking because that seems incredibly important.
It is interesting because it is apparent in the previous scene that Joe likes him. I think there's some connection there, but it is very initial.
That is cutting Luke, I am your father out of Empire Strikes Back. It's maybe a bit of an extreme analysis, but pretty close. Like that's a huge necessary bit in my opinion.
But the fact is, I have not seen these in a long time. So when I watched it, the syndicated version, before I showed you this one, I didn't mind it. Again, because it's a 2-parter and there's much more breathing room to continue to evolve it. But I will say what this eliminated scene is, and listeners, I'm sorry, I know you likely are watching the cut version, so I'll clue you into what we're talking about, is that there is a point where they're like, oh my God, it's already 3:00. Like this breakfast lunch place is shutting down and we've just been here talking and lost track of time. And then when they go to pay the check, he says, well, let me pay for it. And she's like, no, you don't need to pay for mine. And he's like, eh. And Joe says, well, it's not like this is a date or something. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I don't date my students. And then it becomes kind of this, so, that's just a label anyway. Because what is dating? It's just hanging out and talking to someone that you enjoy talking to. And
it's one of the most abused phrases. Ugh, why do I have to put labels on things? That is such an abused phrase. And it is being abused in this particular instance. Yeah,
go to the supermarket and then come back and fucking say, why do you have to put labels on things? It is kind of needed in many, many, many scenarios.
Yeah. Are we going to bring up the powdered sugar bit?
Right.
Because I need to discuss the fact. Well, you set up.
I'm happy to, because then what the sort of scene culminates in is he says, and if this were a date, you wouldn't want me to point out if there were powdered sugar on your nose.
Which there is not a dot of powdered sugar on her nose.
0.0, ladies
None.
and gentlemen. 0. But he still reaches over and playfully brushes the non-existent powdered sugar off her nose. And so, you know what that means? He made that shit up. He's a manipulative bastard.
Well, my question was, did he make that shit up, or was it an oversight on the part of the show? Because honestly, either would be appropriate to me. I would believe either one.
I think they might have put it on. It fell off before the taping was over or something. I don't know.
But I just the track record of what this show does with some of its production.
Since you made an earlier Star Wars reference, when George Lucas goes back and retools all of these episodes of Facts of Life, he will need to digitally add the powdered sugar to Joe's nose, or this entire two-parter does not work. So then, the next scene, we're at Edna's Edibles, where the girls and Mrs. Garrett, just not Joe, are working. And so with the absence of that previous scene, this does kind of bring it into Blair saying, well, Joe hasn't been around a lot, because rumor is that Joe has been seeing this guy, Sam Hall, and he's a teacher of hers. And it's kind of like, well, a teaching assistant, right? And she's like, no, he's a full-on professor, and he is 30.
And a fucking ugly 30. He's a very handsome 40. He's a very good-looking, attractive 40. He is a butt-ugly 30-year-old.
He's 32 in real life. How dare you?
Well, I don't know what happened in Hungary or wherever, but he was beaten with an ugly stick at 30, because that is not a 30-year-old face.
Well, here's something that was in my notes I didn't say before, is that I think he's attractive, but not too attractive. Like, he's
I agree. He's not hot, sexy, but he is a handsome guy.
Right. And I do think there are several times when the lighting is doing him no favors. You can tell they've aimed the lights for the girls. And periodically he'll step into a light where it's like an overlight, and suddenly circles appear under his eyes.
And he turns into a witch.
Yeah.
A hag-like figure.
But I think in spite of that, he comes off as attractive. And best of all, the personality makes up for. The personality, the writing, and the performance.
This episode is not black and white. There's a lot of gray, and a lot of it is because of his performance.
Yeah.
We'll get into it more, but I think he gives us a kind of a complicated, nice guy. And it makes it more uncomfortable to watch this episode.
Yes. And so the next thing, of course, because we're talking about Joe dating one of her college professors, Mrs. Garrett, thank God, says what we are all thinking, and says, doesn't the school have rules about these things? And what does Blair say in response, Justin?
Nope. Nothing.
Nope. It's like,
no rules.
It's what is happening?
I'll have the education she's having.
And here's the deal. I'm sure things were different back in the 80s. I just find it hard to believe there wasn't some sort of a rule that nobody, even in the 80s, was like, nope, there's no issue. We have no concerns about coercive relationships.
They were still filming the VHSs for HR at that time to tell people not to. Those were still being filmed.
Did your boss walk up and touch your ass? Does that fall under the definition of sexual harassment? No, it's just a compliment. Ding! So, I mean, it's the times. I'm aware my outrage is based on the times we live in, particularly now in the Me Too times. But it's like, are you fucking kidding me? There's no rules, or not even a little something like, well, it's not encouraged, but under certain circumstances.
No, this is a sexy school.
Yeah, clearly.
Unfortunately, it's a very sexy school.
But the deal is, with him being an ancient 30-year-old, and the fear of him possibly dying of old age during their relationship, you know. But anyhow, with this talk, Joe comes in, and we get the chitty-chatting back and forth of, well, you haven't been around. And it's simply one of those, I've been spending a lot of time with Sam. I found a new museum. We went to a Japanese garden, and there were these tiny trees that they trimmed to look like giant trees. And it's like, you mean bonsai trees?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess people didn't know what that was in the 80s.
Wasn't sushi kind of not really that big until about
the
80s? So like Japanese culture, I feel like might have been slowly
becoming
a thing for, and then Nintendo coming. Like, I wonder if we really gave a shit about Japan until the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't really become, the manufacturing industrialized powerhouse that it grew into. That was, 80s was Japan coming into that. So you're probably right. It probably is like, sushi,
that might have
bonsai.
been kind of exotic and new at that time.
Yeah. But Joe's thing is, we have fun together. He's a nice guy. That's it. And she does bring in and they say, so you're dating him.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, dating is just a label. So we had introduced that earlier. This is now where Joe kind of reinforces that thing. And it's really, I don't dislike it. I don't dislike it because there is a sense throughout this and the next part of, much as you don't want to have to define things so early on, there are sometimes circumstances where you fucking have to.
Yep.
And so Sam comes into the store. I'm sorry. So
real quick, I'm sorry to. I'm surprised that you haven't brought up something, and that's Mrs. Garrett's Jafar outfit.
Is she in a Jafar
outfit? She's in a Jafar outfit. She looks like Jafar.
What do you say? Okay, we just pulled it up. Mrs. Garrett is wearing a black dress with it's just like a cotton.
It's something
dress.
Stolen from either Jafar or Dracula. It's an evil lord's outfit. It's the outfit of an evil lord.
It has a collar that is red. The dress is black. And she has a belt that is red.
She'll cast a spell on you with that thing.
But the scene pretty much, this conversation ends... But this conversation pretty much ends with Joe reinforcing that we're just friends. We do stuff together. That's it. That's all. There's nothing else going on. And then Sam comes into the store. Oh, hi. Surprise. I was across the street at the bank. Very innocent, not stocky, not creepy or toxic, I will say, in any way, shape, or form. And when he's introduced to the rest, writers, did you go to college? When Blair says, you've probably noticed me in the halls of Langley. And he says, no, I haven't. Which is supposed to be Blair, you're snobby, and he cut you down. Okay, college is typically not a building.
No.
Like a high school. If it was a high school, you see kids in the halls.
It's buildings. It's a campus. It's an experience. It's a whole...
Yeah, and Blair, unless you're taking a photography class, or Blair, because she was going to take art classes, this sort of Blair is the artist thing that they've sort of abandoned here and there. If Blair had said, you've probably noticed me in the halls of the Fine Arts Center. That's where you would find photography, painting, and things like that. But she just says, the halls of Langley. You've probably noticed me at the college. No, guys, that's a fail. Writing fail. But then Sam invites Joe to go on a horseback ride. This whole broadening of Joe's horizons and experiencing new things like bonsai and museums.
And horses, the greatest import from Japan of the 80s.
And then we go to a cutaway. Next scene is an actual location shoot of Sam and Joe horseback riding.
Yep. I had a very specific
for realsies. They're riding a horse, and that's really them on the horse, and it's outdoors. They went and took the film crew out to tape this. She wasn't riding side saddle, if you know what I'm talking about.
No.
And then the horseback riding sequence ends with them hugging. That's all. Just an innocent, friendly hug.
Which the horse marks as inappropriate with a stamping of the hoof, which I thought was like, that's infraction number 1. You know how they count?
Oh, yeah.
Hoofs? The horse stomps and it gets mad about the hug because the horse knows what we all know. Yeah. This is wrong.
The next scene. At the house, prepping for dinner. Joe is taking annoying close-up pictures of Mrs. Garrett, and you want her to turn and say, that is a stupid sitcom trope. Cut it the fuck out. But because he's the photography teacher and he's encouraging her to do different things and get up close and personal with her subjects. And there is talk about her having saddle sores. And then this thing that they're doing tomorrow, continuing the college fails in the writing. Sam and I are going, are going to be going out on a photography shoot because he's doing this thesis on macro photography and taking pictures of spiders and centipedes in close-up. Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay. And she's like, Mrs. Garrett, could you pack us up some food to bring along? And it's like, that sounds more like a picnic, Joe, like a date. Mm-hmm. And Joe's response is, it's a thesis. A college professor just doing it's like thesis is a word that you hear used in higher education circles, but doing a thesis.
A thesis is a thing you do for your master's, not
right.
for your bachelor's. Already, you don't do a thesis as an undergrad.
But no, this is him though. He's already presumably.
So I see.
But what I'm saying is, I mean, I guess if what they mean is they just expressed poorly is that he's a professor with a bachelor's degree, which you can be.
Yes.
But the idea is that he's pursuing his master's, and this is part of his thesis.
Yep.
Maybe that we could give them that little bit of slack.
Sure.
But the wording is not the right wording.
Yeah.
And especially since Joe is a college student, she would know this verbiage as far as, you know, he's almost done getting his master's, and this is part of his thesis.
Yeah.
Similar to how if you were pursuing your doctorate, the term you hear thrown around is dissertation. Mm-hmm. Anywho.
I hate to stop you, but this is where the massive prop fail occurred.
Then you do not hate to stop me. I love you to stop me. Props.
This drove me crazy in the same way that I know you have a particular hatred of when someone uses a microphone in a TV show or movie and they don't know how to use the mic, but they just wave it around as though that's proper mic technique. As they're sitting down having these burgers, Blair does something that is inexcusable.
What? I didn't notice this. Tell me.
She picks up the burger and Blair holds it to her mouth with the sesame seed bun at the bottom. With under her thumbs are holding that. She has a sandwich upside down as she's going to eat it. She never intended to eat it. That's a hand prop for her just to do something with. No one eats their burgers upside down. I want you to look at this.
I see it.
You see it?
I see it.
Do you see the shit that I look for?
Yeah, and she does hold it up as though she might take a bite. But then on the next line, she puts it down. So it is absolutely.
So my question, it's the same with the powdered sugar. Was it that there was no powdered sugar there and he made an advance, or were the show people just so crappy? With this sandwich thing, was it that she was just holding a prop and she did it incorrectly and she didn't care? Or is this the beginning of a bulimia or anorexia episode where she is clearly showing that she is eating, but she's not actually putting food in her mouth?
Wow.
That's my question for you, David.
So you're saying nobody ever holds their burger upside down when they eat it? I'm not sure I can sign off on that.
It's not the American way.
But the idea is, I'm just trying to think. I cannot sit here and say, "Fuck yes, I have never done that. I would never think to do that." I feel like depending on the shape of the burger, on what's on top of it, there might be something that ergonomically dictates.
A proper burger, as made correctly, should not have crap sliding around as you pick it up with your thumbs on the bottom and the other fingers on the top.
Ladies and gentlemen listening, have you ever picked up a burger upside down? I feel like I might have, but I can't say for sure.
That if there is a portion of this country that is eating their burgers upside down, that is the problem.
You're moving out?
It's not. No, it's not about race or sex or who you voted for. If you're holding your burger that way, you need to leave. That's not that. Yeah. She is either anorexic or she did not care about her prop.
Or she's un-American, is what you're saying.
Or she's on a... Yeah, I mean, I just... If you're going to ask me to watch this show, that's the shit I'm going to look out for. And that pissed me off.
It is so delightful to not be the only person obsessing over stupid little nothings. This is making me so happy.
It made the entire episode invalid.
I do that too, where it's like they fucked up one joke and the whole episode is now in the shit pile.
Because, I mean, that's the foundation.
Yeah.
Human beings eat burgers that way. You've shown me that someone here isn't human. So now the bigger issue is not should they be dating or not. It's there is an alien in the midst that no one is talking about. This episode is invalid. Thank you. I'm ready to move on.
So with this, we have more hetero dating stuff and conversations. There is kind of a picnicky setting.
This has got to be an expensive episode for this show. They're on location couple times.
Twice!
And it's a two-parter? Like, I feel like this was the director's magnum opus.
It kind of was, because Asad Khalada, the director, is about to leave.
Oh, so this is the swan song.
Let me triple check here. No, I have to correct myself. Asad Khalada does this two-parter, and then there are 2 more episodes coming up this season, and then he's done. But his tenure there is definitely winding down.
Do you think this episode is what did it? The producer said, "You just ballooned us out of budget. We can't. You're strike one, sir. Strike one."
And it's like he's like, you wrote a scene where they're horseback riding. Did you expect him to just walk into a barn and hear off camera or something? I mean, maybe they did. It's possible. But anyhow, this whole thing culminates in him wanting to take her picture and her being like, no, I don't want to take a picture. And they end up kissing, full on making out. This has now taken a turn for the romantical.
Yeah.
As we go to commercial. Anything else before we go on?
I think so, but my handwriting has eroded over the years.
Any other hamburger rants? That is some serial killer.
I don't need you to look at this right now. Not right now.
Are you sensitive? I'm sorry.
It's really bad. I can't read it. Shadow. Oh, yes! Yes!
What?
Yes!
Oh, God.
Oh, this is big.
What?
They get up from the picnic basket to walk over to the tree where the mouth rape begins. The mouth rape that turns into mouth consensual kissing.
Oh, wow.
They get up from that blanket and they go over to that tree. And if you watch the grass behind them as they're going to the tree, you can see the shadow of whatever cameraman or whatever crew people are there. You can see it.
Oh, right there, yeah. You totally can see it, yeah.
They're over budget and they're not even, they don't care about that money. They're throwing down the toilet for these horses and for this this locale.
But wow.
This is the beginning of the downfall of this director, because it's the sloppiness. It's unforgivable.
Well, it's not that we've never seen, a shadow of a camera or a boom. The big thing is the boom mic. That's always the
Has a boom mic been in this?
No. I mean, at some point, during the course of the facts of life, we have seen the occasional, like twice, a boom mic or a shadow of a boom mic. So then when we come back from commercial, the way that they talk about how things have been going so far is Natalie comes in with mail and she says, "Oh, I have some mail for Joe." And Blair says, "Who?" And she says, "That Polish kid who used to work here." And it's like, she better still fucking be working there and not shirking her store responsibilities, since it is part of the stipulation of her living there since she can't afford to be in the dorms. But then there's talk of, with this boyfriend, and then someone corrects it to man friend. Because, again, he's 30. He's so fucking old.
And looks it.
So Blair says, "I'm going to go into the other room and bring her mail," mostly because Blair, we know, now wants to talk with them. And here's a reference to the time, Justin. As an excuse, Blair says, "Well, I'm going to go bring Joe this piece of mail." And they say, Blair, leave them alone. Nothing with Ed McMahon's picture on it could be that important. And Blair says, "She may have already won a dream RV." Do you know what that's a reference to?
I would imagine Publishers Clearinghouse.
Wow, look at you. Spoken like a non-stupid young person. Wow.
I may be young to you, but there are people in their 20s who think I'm ancient.
But yeah, that is a Publishers Clearinghouse, and that was how we were contacted back in the day, was by mail.
And then they would show up at your door with a giant check. "You've won!"
Balloons and this is not staged at all for the commercial. They open the door. "Oh my God, I'm a millionaire!" So Blair does go back into the living room of the house where Joe and Sam are playing backgammon, and this is where Blair kind of is like, guys, I kind of need to talk to you. And she gets into, people are talking, and I thought you should be aware of what people are saying about you. And it's fascinating because Joe immediately responds with, I don't give a care. Well, what are they, what the fuck are people saying? I'm paraphrasing. But Joe immediately goes into defense mode and gets mad. Let him talk, or that. I don't like people, getting into my private things. Sam is so calm and intelligent. He's mature.
Yeah.
Where he says, I want to know what they're saying. And Joe's like, I don't want to know what they're saying. It doesn't matter to me what people are saying. But Sam's like, look, he says to her, Joe, getting mad isn't going to solve the problem. And Joe's like, there is no problem here. And, but yeah, it's like, yeah, people are talking about a teacher dating a student. And Blair says explicitly, there is speculation that Joe may be getting better grades because of dating him, not just in his class, but of course, his peers and all that. And that's why we have rules in the 21st century that no professor, teacher, ever.
And I mean, to go with Joe a little bit, I do think in most circumstances, you really shouldn't care what people say about you behind your back. But this is in reference to a power dynamic of a teacher and a student. That is when you should be listening. Yeah. As opposed to, in normal times, she would be right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But in this particular circumstance, they better be listening to what people are saying.
No, this is not haters hating. This is common sensors common sensing.
Yeah.
That this is not a great situation.
But it is kind of, it says something about the times that the question isn't, this teacher's dating the student. This student's getting better grades. It's not a question of, maybe he's taking advantage of her in a power dynamic. It's actually about the grades.
You're right.
It's like a very interesting
she's benefiting.
Change of priorities
this
here.
Little opportunist whore.
Yeah. Once again, we are whore shaming our whores.
Yeah. It's like, as opposed to people saying, is there some level of coercion? So this talking, and at one point he says, look, we can shout about it or we can talk about it.
Yeah.
And she says, I don't want to let that influence us. And he says, but stuff like this could hurt you, and I don't want anything to hurt you.
Do you not hate how everything he's saying is correct? And this whole situation started because he made a shitty decision to date a student. Mm-hmm. But after that shitty decision, everything he's done has actually been helpful and it makes this very gray and very uncomfortable and much more interesting to watch. The jokes suck, but it's good writing. Yeah.
And I'm fascinated if you think that after the second half.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Because I'm not spoiling anything by saying there may be a little bit of a hiccup to that.
I'm sure another shoe will drop before the orphanage lights on fire.
Exactly. But in response to him saying, but we should be aware of what's happening because I don't want it to hurt you. And Joe's response, the only way it could hurt me is if I lost you. And they kiss more.
That is some very young person, immature way to look at things. Is you're the best thing that ever happened to me. It's you. It's about this person.
You're the only thing that matters.
Like that really is a young, naive.
Just like you have recited to me over and over several times an hour and made me repeat back to you. Yeah. You are the most important thing in my life, and nothing else matters. So more kissing and stuff. And is this where you seem to be getting physically uncomfortable and like fidgeting in your chair? Was this the point, or was it in this next scene?
It is in the next scene.
Then we'll get there. Okay. So moving on into the next scene, time has passed. Mrs. Garrett is wearing pants. This is a big thing because we rare to never see her wearing pants, but these are her sort of flowy, drapey, looser pants. They look good on her. They look fine. So in the store we have Tootie, Natalie, and Blair, and they're like trying to go about the business of the store. I'm very happy to see that the store is getting any attention this season because they've been kind of neglecting it as a necessary component of the show.
I gotta be honest. Looking at that store, I thought I would buy a lot of shit there.
Oh, fuck yes, you would.
It doesn't look cheap. It looks like some really good baked goods are in that place. Like I was impressed.
Oh, yeah.
I think it looks like a very nice place to go. I would like a croissant.
I'd want one of the apple strudels. That's supposedly her specialty. So what they're talking about is, well, I could do this thing. Well, no, Joe did it. Well, I could do this other thing. Joe did it. It's like Joe has been on extra overtime duty taking care of shit at the store, which, makes me happy. But it's because they're like, well, she has all this extra time now that she's not seeing Sam anymore.
And they say, well, every time that Joe is upset, she bites a hubcap.
Yep.
Which to me that's a clitoral reference, right?
That's
a lesbianic thing. Every time she's upset, so whatever she prayed away or whatever class she went to, when she gets upset, it's not permanent. Is what I'm taking from this.
Justin, I'm aware that you are a fellow homosexual.
Yeah.
But I regret to inform you that
gay isn't in everything.
That a clitoris is not shaped like a hubcap. I understand why you don't know that.
I thought it was. It's under the hood and it's like a little nub.
No. Now, if it was, she starts playing with the lug nuts under the hubcap or something.
Oh, is it the lug nuts?
It's the lug, because
Okay.
It's like a little nubby thing.
Is the hymen the radiator?
And the hymen is more like the hubcap in that you gotta get through it.
Okay.
But I think the hymen is the gateway to the vag. The clit is up on the top. I think you can play with the clit without...
Then is the labia majora the undercarriage or...
The overcarriage.
The overcarriage.
Majora is the overcarriage.
What is the undercarriage?
The undercarriage, that would be...
Is it the third lip?
My next podcast is going to be two gay men every week for an hour asking questions like, so is it like this? So if it was
holding up a picture of a Model T Ford and a picture of a vagina and like a Venn diagram, putting them together and trying to match the pieces.
But every single week it'll be like, so if it was a couch, would the labia majora be like the cushions or like
just comparing it to different objects?
Yeah,
okay.
And be like, okay, well, does that mean that the hymen is like the throw that you put over the couch to cover up the stains that you have?
This holiday episode will be comparing the vagina to a Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree.
And the different ornamentation.
So is the clit like the star at the top of the tree? Do you have to climb something to get to it?
I'm pretty sure the clit is it's the train that goes around on the skirt that like moves around. And then the clit is the pickle ornament that you hide the morning of.
Okay. All right.
And if you find it, you get an extra prize.
But I thought you hide the pickle in the vaginal canal because that's what the PIV... Anyway, We will have to have Matthew Arter on this podcast to periodically, throughout these conversations, say...
But so at the end result of this is a hubcap is not a clitoris.
A hubcap is not a clit.
Okay.
So that's the important lesson.
That's the important...
I want you to walk away from today with.
How does that melody go? For a secretary is not a toy, a hubcap is not...
A hubcap is not a clit, not a clit. Okay.
Gold.
So there it is. But yes, that phrase to which you refer, Justin, is because as I was wondering, I'm like... So Joe has not seen Sam in 6 days. That is what is making this conversation happen.
Yeah.
And they're speculating. Well, they broke up. I'm not sure they broke up. That. It's like, you live with her. Fucking ask her. But it is Joe. You know better than to pry into her personal shit. And Mrs. Garrett does say, why hasn't Joe said anything about this? And that's why we get the hubcap reference. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass there. So Mrs. Garrett does say, when I heard that she was officially dating this man who was so much older, I was afraid she was in over her head. So then Joe comes in, and very quickly they're all like, hey, Joe, how you doing? They're like trying to be all soft and consoling because clearly something bad has happened as we have just made up your breakup in our brains.
Yeah. It's just crappy when people do that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But it's a very sitcom premise because
Yeah,
then
it is.
in response, Joe says, "What are you guys talking about? I'm not broken up with Sam. He's been away for the..." I don't know. I have not been seeing him these past 6 days because he's been spending time with his son. His what?
Did not rehearse that.
Wow. And yeah, turns out he has a 7-year-old son named Robbie. Mm-hmm. And she's like...
He was laying the pipe at 23.
If we do the math, yeah. So Joe says it's no big deal. And thankfully the girls are like, that is a big fucking deal.
Oh, nice. And how I was talking about how we're going to have disagreements on things, and I'm excited to get into this. To me, that's not a big deal. The big deal is the teacher thing. I think that they are concerned about the wrong issue, in my opinion.
I cannot fight you on that.
Okay. I think that this is adding on to the pile of, more difficulties, more troubles for this relationship. But really, I'm dating someone with a kid. I mean, if you're willing to take that on, I don't see why that's really anyone's problem. I think that they're looking for a problem that's not necessarily there. The problem is that's your teacher with a power dynamic over you. And also, I can understand she's a little young, so it's kind of, it could be difficult, but that is her decision to make.
Yeah. Where I am approaching this, this isn't disagreeing with you, but my thing is like, okay, the teacher-student thing, that ship has sailed.
That's a no-go. That's bad.
It shouldn't have gone this far.
Yep.
But the fact that it's like, okay, well, we are actually fast approaching the end of the episode here because Joe's no big deal response to his having a kid. The girls are, it is a big deal. And this is where she reveals he's a widower and that the kid has been living in Chicago with Sam's parents and he's here just for a visit for this past week. And it's like, okay, yeah. So in comes Sam and he says, "I've missed you." And she says, "I've missed you." And they kiss. And he says, "I've got a surprise." And the surprise is what, Justin?
He's going to keep the son here and not keep the son with his parents.
And in that vein, he says, "I want you two to meet as soon as possible."
Yeah.
What are your feelings on that?
My feelings on that are this. I want to be very serious. I don't want to be funny. I think that if he wasn't her teacher, I really would not have a problem with it. I really wouldn't. He is her teacher, and it is wrong. That is. I know that seems. I knew that we were going to disagree on this.
Yeah, this is where we're disagreeing. That you are.
Now,
saying,
I do think it's. I think it's soon.
Okay, good.
But I'm more concerned about the final sentences spoken in this episode than I am about her meeting the kid.
Right.
That is a huge red flag to me more than this.
Let's take the teacher out of it because that's clearly something you are hung up on it, as am I. I'm not saying I don't, but you are. That is overriding so much.
That is overriding so much of this relationship.
Of what you're thinking, yeah. So he's not a teacher. He's just a dude, a 30-year-old dude that she met somewhere.
Right.
And they're dating, and now his kid, he's saying, "I want the two of you to meet ASAP." How do you feel about that?
I think it's rushed, but at the end of the day, it's hers to accept or deny. And if she says yes, then I fine.
Interesting, because in my opinion, this is the greater infraction of all. Because I'm like, okay, I have to let go of the professor thing. It's 1984, and clearly, societally, it's a little more acceptable. So this is what we're presented with that we have to deal with. To me, I have heard you should wait a year or even a year and a half if you are a single parent dating someone that you think might be important. And we will talk more about this in part 2. This does come up. But yeah, this is insanely too soon. And that's a red flag.
I think it's a matter of how is he introducing her? This is my friend. This is my really strong romantic. But like, how is he? If it's just, this is my friend, and I
Yeah.
just want you to meet. I think that's fine.
Okay.
If this is my girlfriend, or hey, I'm getting really serious with this lady, and I want you to like her like I do. Like that's strong and heavy and shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah,
that's what I have more comfort with. I'm thinking of it that way. The fact that he has a kid and that she's dating someone with a kid, that's fine.
I could sign off on that too. I want you to meet him just for you to meet him. But
Yeah.
I don't want us to be all presenting as that.
Yes.
I just want you to be my friend.
That
I
I'm fine with.
could be okay
These are
with
two
that.
important people in this man's life.
Yeah.
His son and the girl he's seeing. It might be. I think we agree it's too soon for him to have his
way
intense
too
feelings
soon.
that he has.
Yeah.
But to want two people that are important to him to meet, I don't think in and of itself is a bad thing.
But thankfully, Joe is kind of in our camp where she's like, whoa, you really want me to meet your kid now? And he's like, yeah, it's important to me. So she does acquiesce.
Yeah.
You know, he does have to kind of convince her, but not in a bad way. It's
It
again,
didn't seem like he was twisting her arm hard for it.
No.
It didn't raise an eyebrow for me.
yeah, and it didn't. It wasn't presented as and this is the first red flag.
Yep.
It was just okay. He's being him. We like him. We do really like him.
yeah.
So the last moment is, yep, okay, I'll meet your kid, and we get I love yous and kissies.
It's
So okay. So you're not an early I love you person.
no. I really feel very strongly about it.
So on that note, we get claps. We get the clap. We get the
got the
applause,
clap.
and we get the credits. And it does say to be continued. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because it's not really a conundrum problem. Oh my God, what's going to happen?
No, it's not.
Other than this got more serious.
Yeah.
Not necessarily problematic. So I almost like that too, because so much of 80s sitcoms is fabricated drama, fabricated conflict and all that. So I really didn't mind that. And I really don't hate the way, if they had to make this episode and tell us this story, I don't mind the way they did it. I'm not crazy about the story itself, but the execution, so many times I like the story and I hate the execution. This is the flip of that.
When this came out, how long would you have to wait between an episode?
A week.
A week? I would have assumed, but I didn't
A
want to
week.
assume.
Nothing.
So it would have been a week between this and the other one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was the original broadcast. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Justin, on that note, we are going to stop recording now, and then we're going to go back, watch part 2, and then record next week's show back to back.
Awesome.
It's like a podcast marathon here. I hope you brought your running shoes. But so on that note, I hope you're able to come back and join me again.
I hope so. I was going to lock my door and just sit in my room and
in the
hide,
future.
but-
Yeah, I hope to have you. I hope you're able to come back and be here and do this. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I have laundry to do.
Yeah. Okay. So smooches and goodbye.
Bye.
And there you have it. That was Justin Schneyer. Listen for our new podcast, Two Gays Talking About Vaginas. That's one right there. That's going to be soaring to the top of the charts, let me tell you. Next week, Justin's going to be back to do Season 6, Episode 7, Taking a Chance on Love, Part 2. And you can watch the show for free at dailymotion.com. The link will be posted on this episode's webpage, and it should be right there in your show notes on your podcast application of choice. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening to this week's show. And remember, the facts of life are all about you. Let's Face the Facts was created, produced, written, hosted, and edited by me, David Almeida. My theme song was beautifully arranged and recorded by Ned Wilkinson. Visit my website, facethefactspod.com, for supplemental photos and videos, audio extras from the digital cutting room floor, links to my social media, and ways that you can support the show financially. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. Tune in again next week for another thrilling episode of Let's Face the Facts.